good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Hello, everybody, and welcome to
Woohoo!
another episode of Hot and Spicy Conversations on Dating and Relationships with fabulous Cristina, Davy, Olga from Australia, and myself, Olga Geidane from United Kingdom. So we are pleased to be here, and we are so happy to have you here with us again with another fantastic topic. Which Cristina would you like to announce that?
Yes, navigating relationship with stepchildren. Oh my God.
Whoa! Don't we all have stories? Don't we all have cases? Don't we all have things to tell? Please let us know what is your experience when it comes to stepchildren. How did you manage to navigate those relationships, or maybe you're still trying to navigate? We are here to answer any of your questions and to help you as much as we can, sharing our own experience as well as wisdom. So, Christina, what would you like to say? Tip number one, or maybe something else I would like to share when it comes to navigating relationships with stepchildren.
I think they just really need to be prepared because there's going to be another. You thought you knew each other no matter how long you've been together. And in my case, with me and Matt, we were together for what 4.5 years, right, or something like that. And you think you know each other and you think like you're doing really great, and whoops, you move together, and then there's another level of intimacy, another level of getting to know each other. And I remember very clearly asking myself, like, what is happening? What is happening? Like, I thought we were getting along. And we were getting along, right? It was not that. It was just simply the fact that we each had our own routines. And spending 1 day a week or 2 days a week, at each other's places, it's totally different than waking up to each other, going to bed together, and also so you have that adjusting to each other's routine, and then you also have the kids' routines, right? And especially when they're different ages, or the challenges when they are the same ages, or because it's just a lot more needs to feel, more people to deal with, right? So there's so much going on. So literally, there's a lot of fear of unknown, a lot of uncertainty that comes with it, and it's not easy to navigate, initially, but it can definitely be done. I've done it, and you can do it too.
Oh, these are
so,
nice words of encouragement.
so I think we just really my first the first thing that comes to mind is just stay curious. Okay, stay open,
Mm.
and curious to get to know each other all over again. Okay, on a different level. That will be what I'll lead with today. What about you? What do you think, Olga? Have you dealt with this situation?
Oh, absolutely, Christina. Absolutely. It's been multiple cases where I had to really readjust to a brand new person, let's put it this way, because you're right. When you spend with each other 1 or 2 days a week, you stay overnight, you spend a weekend together, you go for a long trip, it's never the same than when you're moving together. And when you have stepchildren on a side, it becomes challenging, right? It's becoming challenging because you don't want to be stepmother or stepfather for them, right? But you are, right? They have their own parents, unless they don't. But in most cases, they do have their own parents. And even children, they're still confused. They have this bad perception of now you're going to be treating them badly, and you're going to be, I know, disrespecting them on something else. So when it comes their negative expectations, right? Plus, you don't know these children. You never grew up with them. Right, you don't know how to handle them, and when you put these two explosive bombs together, wait, just wait for a challenge to come. But here's the thing, what we need to remember, that children are as confused as we are adults. Okay, for them it's also a sudden change. Whether they live with us or they don't, for them it's still a sudden change. Every child wants their parents to be together. Okay, regardless how bad or how good, the mom and dad will be always a god and a goddess. Okay, and you on the other hand will be always an evil. Okay, because you're not their birth parent. Okay, so it's quite normal for them to reject you in the beginning. It's quite normal for them to be very distant with you, but we got to remember we shouldn't allow that to impact our relationship. It's almost like
Mm.
treating these two separate units. Okay. Our relationship is our relationship, and our stepchildren are our stepchildren. They are not our relationship. They are part of it, but they are not our relationship. And whatever
Mm.
happens with our stepchildren, let's talk about it. That's very important. Okay. That's very important to talk about things, right? But let's not allow that to impact our relationship. And I would say that's really important because very often people take all the conflicts into their relationship. And then, of course, relationship is suffering.
Yeah, I think we need to really acknowledge the fact that in most
Mm.
instances there's not enough bond between a step parent and a stepchild, right? So when you grow up with your parents, you have a bond. You know, no matter what, you could pull each other's hair. You know, you could say things to each other, but then there's this unwritten rule of, oh, he or she is my mother or my father, and therefore you kind of have a fight or an argument, and then you go back together because it's that strong, bond, the blood, right? The being together for so many years, having that history. And when you're a step parent, you don't really have that with this child. So, in order for you to create that bond, you really need to go through certain experiences together. And if that's not facilitated, that's not in a conscious way created, just really deciding like, okay, we got to do some things, we got to go through some experiences together in order for us to learn to trust each other, to learn to rely on each other, to learn to be vulnerable, to let each other in, and like really just be able to express with courage what we need, because that's, I think, sometimes overlooked as well. Ultimately, think about it. You might come from, you could, all people involved might have family values, but the awareness around those family values is not always there. So what family means to me is not the same with what family means to you, right? And how we want to spend that time together, and how we what's important to us as a family. It's different as well. So there will be not necessarily, so sometimes, some of us are really lucky and it happens naturally,
Mhm.
but when it doesn't, it's important to acknowledge that we can change that, but we just need to have that flexibility and curiosity to understand each other, and to really listen as well, because often, and I'm guilty of this myself, I wanted to be understood, and I wanted to be, I wanted my needs to be, fulfilled, and like somebody else to take care of my needs. But then, like, well, how am I showing up? I had to ask myself,
Mhm.
how am I showing up in this relationship? How am I contributing to this situation right now? And I think that's important, having that self-awareness that we are all contributing to what it is. We might not initiate
Mhm.
that vibration, or whatever what it is that's happening, but how we respond or react to it will diminish things or make it bigger. And sometimes we just don't connect the dots. I was definitely in that situation when I wasn't connecting the dots, and thanks to you, I really appreciate your help. You have helped me tremendously in that specific situation.
It's a pleasure, Christina, and it's always nice when people are willing to be helped, which you were, and then things work out. It's beautiful. But I'd like to actually share that when situations arise, as you mentioned, where there's misunderstanding, where there's disconnection, where there's no way forward, what's important to remember, and this is regardless any type of relationship, we all got to remember this. We always attract people and events into our lives that help us to look into ourselves. Always. Yes, including your stepchildren. All right. Very
Uh,
often we think about our partners that mirror something within us. So if we see them being very negative, question is to ask yourself, where am I negative? Okay. If you see them
mm,
being demotivated, you got to ask yourself, okay, where am I demotivated? Okay. They are mirrors. They're simply mirrors. But when it comes to children, they are amplifiers, right? They are amplifiers. So when it comes to stepchildren, that means they are also showing you what else is inside of you. And all you have to do is just to ask yourself, okay, how do I feel about them? If you feel disconnected from them, which is very normal, you would think like, oh, you don't pay attention to it. Actually, do pay attention, because maybe you are disconnected from yourself, right?
Hmm.
Maybe you want them to understand you, how you feel. Well, but do you understand how you feel yourself? Right? Do you hear yourself? So it's really important to look at our stepchildren also like another mirror. Think about life as multi-dimensional mirror, like mirror hole, okay? And every person who is there, they are mirroring something back at you. And once you approach it that way, then obviously everything becomes so much clearer. It's not about them anymore. It's more about you. Because in reality, it is about you. You are getting back what you're projecting. But it's a lot easier to blame the world, right? It's a lot easier
Hmm.
to say it's your fault, it's their fault, and everybody's fault, but not mine. Because look at me, I'm trying my best. Well, you're trying your best to fit in, you're trying your best to pretend you're good, but you're not trying your best to be you and work on yourself. Right? So this is what
Hmm.
I would like to share when it comes to stepchildren and relationships. Always look at them not as the enemy, not somebody who is against you because they hate you. Don't take it personally, but instead look at them as a beautiful mirror. What are they mirroring to you? If they're not accepting you, which part of you not accepting? Which part of you are you rejecting? Right? And maybe going all the way back to your inner child. Maybe you're not even accepting your inner child, and then watch your
Hmm.
deep journey after that. And you'll be thankful. You will be thankful to those stepchildren for showing something to you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. And often, I think we forget to
Mm,
really remind ourselves that if we're triggered, the trigger, we have created a trigger, like we attach that meaning and we just really become unresourceful in that specific situation, knowing how to navigate it or what to do or what to, how to go from where we are. Like sometimes we don't even know how we got there. And often I find that just from to work with other parents as well, that there's a lot of jealousy. Kids
mm,
can feel threatened, right? There's this other person that comes into someone's life, and um, what does it mean for them? There are new rules in the house. Uh, there's a new way of being. There's a fear of unknown, right? There's a lot of uncertainty, and I think it's very easy to feel threatened. Like there's not enough love. There's not enough connection. There's not enough whatever what it was. Now you got to share time, emotions, feelings. So often we look at it in a scarcity kind of way rather than like, well, there is more love, there is more people I can rely on, there's more people I can connect, talk to, have more wit as well. And I think it's very hard to make that shift at
mm,
first when you might not know, and especially as a young kid, someone who is emotionally not mature enough to really process all of that. What does it mean to them to be in this new family, and out of a sudden everything has changed, everything is very different. And I think as an adult we forget how it was to be, as you said, how it was to be like them, and what we are experiencing as well. So I think it's important to have that flexibility during the transition from the old routine to the new routine, and just remind ourselves, okay, we are adapting to each other. Like we're
mm,
learning about each other right now. So it's okay to not have it all figured out and not have just amazing moments together, right? It's okay to have some ups and downs. Expect them actually, because if you expect them, then it's not going to be such a shock either. So I think that will help. And I think agreeing on new routines,
mm.
explaining why it's important, and finding a middle way, or we do this in this situation, we do that in that situation. Just kind of help instead of maybe judging or criticizing, which is very easy to fall into it in a situation like that.
I agree, totally agree. And again, we also need to remember that children are personalities, they're individualities. They are allowed to have their own opinions, they're allowed to have their own views, they're allowed to have and make their own decisions. Okay. And very often what happens when we step parents step into their world, what we do, we try our best to chase them. Right, because we want to build relationship with them, and then we start like, oh, how about we do this? How about we do that? How about we just trying our best to come up with all the tons of activities in order to create sort of like, oh, now we're going to do everything together, right? But the reality is they need time to settle. Okay. And I like this
Mm,
analogy of like with cats, you don't chase cats, you allow them to come. Right. And the same with
mm,
stepchildren. Don't chase them. Allow them to get used around it. You around the fact that the parent is in a new relationship, around the fact that maybe you also have children. They also need to get that to that dynamics as well. Right. But
mm,
let's not chase them. Let's allow them to come to us when they are ready. Let's not overwhelm them with like, oh, now we're gonna be having this brand new family all together, right? Because very often it can be like, so doesn't mean now I'm not allowed to have my own family with my mom and dad. Because for them, regardless if we want it or not, but for them, your partner, their parent, and the other parent will always a family. Always a
mm,
family, and family number one. So when we step in and we try our best to almost take them away, they feel threatened, right? So that's why I love the analogy of don't chase them, allow them to come to you. Allow them
mm.
to feel comfortable. I'll never forget, and that was actually really difficult. I'll never forget how my ex-fiance's oldest, when we're still together, we were in South Africa at the time, and he fell asleep on my lap, and he woke up, and he was like all sleepy, and he was all loved up. He was sleeping on my lap and all that, and he woke up and he asked me, Olga, can I call you mommy?
Oh,
I was taken away. He was about 5 at the time. I was shocked because what do you say on this? Right? And I was like, well, I don't want to reject him now because this is how he feels. I don't want to tell him, no, you can't, because what if he wants to do that? And I don't want to break the moment because, what if he will never feel that way again? So I said to him, only if that's what you want. And
mm,
from that day, he called me mommy. And then twins also followed him and they also called me mommy. And I must tell you, Christina, it was so difficult to finish that relationship for those children. I struggled. They were not my own birth children, but I really struggled because the connection, the bonding, the everything what we had was so strong that I really struggled to finish off that relationship. It was not healthy and I had to go. I had to finish off. But it was so challenging because of the bonding which were built. But it took them a couple of months to get used to me, right?
mm.
Because the dynamics between the mom and dad was not really healthy and it was quite challenging for them. And transition was a very, very, very drastic as well. But it was a beautiful moment where he just woke up. Of course, he was little. It's a big difference between a teenager and a 5-year-old. Let's admit it, okay? Teenager will never call you mom or dad, that's for sure. But we got to
Mm,
remember we shouldn't chase them. We just
mm.
shouldn't
I
chase
think
them.
that's
Let them
very
like cats.
powerful. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree 100%. It's and I can see how that plays into it as well because the more you chase, the more resistance you're gonna get. That's for sure.
exactly. Exactly. So let's allow them to be, let's allow them to step into the space beautifully and become part of it when they
Mm.
will decide to want it. They have to have the power of being able to do so. So yes, I can
For
feel like we
sure.
can
So
talk about
thank
it
you for the
forever.
wisdom. Thank you for the wisdom. For those of you who are navigating, a blended relationship right now, and you find it difficult, as you could see, Olga is definitely someone knowledgeable, someone who has been through in your shoes. So you definitely want to reach out and just become resourceful in how to navigate your particular circumstance. And if that particular the blending of the family is what's affecting your relationship, just know that it can be changed. You don't have to stay the same. So make sure you book a call. Make sure you talk to Olga about how you can increase the intimacy, the friendship, the bond with your partner as well, so you can stay strong in situations like that for the children and yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Christina, for your kind words. I really appreciate it. And if you're right now in a situation where you're a parent and you think, well, can I even attract a partner? You're speaking about relationships. I'm not in one. I'm still single with a child, or two, or three, or five. Okay. What do I do? Can I ever find somebody who will accept me? There's misconception, right? Accept me with my children. Then go ahead and work with this amazing lady on the screen, Christina, because she has a fantastic program for those who are single and who are willing to attract the most amazing partner into their lives. And I can reassure you, she is fabulous, because I personally directly work with Christina, so I can vouch for her services 100%. So reach out and please share with us your stories, your tips, your
Yes.
takeaways. What have we missed? We would love to hear maybe something we haven't mentioned today. So please make sure you share that with us and also with the world. And don't forget to share this episode with your friends and loved ones so they can learn a little bit from it as well. So thank you so much for being with us today, and we'll see you next Thursday. Same time, same place. Take care.